Hidden truth exposed. Billionaire dad's shocking response transforms Heiress after Gala incident. As the Gala's grand chandelier sparkled overhead, Sarah's heart felt heavy in her chest. She maneuvered through the crowd of affluent guests, their laughter and clinking glasses echoing a world she barely belonged to. Just moments ago, she was at the food bank, serving those who truly needed it. Now, she was stuck in a room filled with people flaunting their wealth, while she juggled 2 jobs and took care of her younger brother, trying to make ends meet. The air reeked of expensive perfume and false pretenses. With each tray Sarah carried, contempt bubbled within her. Her father, Billionaire David, was the orchestrator of this charade, a man who had disappeared from her life before she even learned to spell his name. She felt a mix of anger and longing as snippets of gossip drifted through the air. David's latest acquisition, have you seen his new yacht? Their frivolous chatter was like salt in an open wound. The brightness of their lives clashed with hers, a stark reminder of the man who had chosen wealth over family. And then it happened. Midway through the evening, amidst the extravagant setting, a debacle erupted when an actress stumbled, accidentally spilling champagne all over a powerful senator. Laughter evolved into a chorus of judgment. That's when Sarah felt a surge of courage, or maybe it was outrage, overcome her. Stepping forward, she forced herself to stand tall, her pulse racing. "Is this really how you treat each other?" she shouted, her voice shaking but fierce. "While you drink the night away, people out there are struggling to survive." Gasps followed her brave confrontation, the crowd shifting uncomfortably. And then, like a scene out of a movie, David stood frozen, his reality shattering. The surprise coursed through him, and then, in a moment of raw honesty, he blurted, "And you think you know pain?" Gasps echoed louder, cameras flickered, and the atmosphere thickened with tension. The incident ignited a firestorm. Before they both had a moment to breathe, the media picked up the story. David, accustomed to a world of control, now faced the chaos of his daughter's unfiltered authenticity, a far cry from the world he decultivated. Sarah grappled with her conflicting feelings, the anger at his absence swirling with an aching desire for the love of a father she barely knew. As days passed, Sarah witnessed kindness during her volunteering efforts, a stranger donating food to families facing eviction. It struck a chord deep within her, igniting a glimmer of hope. Could she forgive? And just like that, she found herself at the shelter again, the weight of her responsibilities heavy on her shoulders. It was here she confronted him again, the billionaire among the broken, wrought with vulnerability. But just when it felt like they might bridge the canyon that years of abandonment had created, another crisis tore the ground from beneath them. An eviction notice on the local family's door stood as a testament to the struggles Sarah lived through daily. Their worlds collided like 2 fists clasping, but could either find the strength to break the walls of their past. The wound was still fresh as each question about accountability and family hung in the air, palpable and raw, setting the stage for an even greater confrontation. Hope flickered like a candle in the wind, but would it hold strong in a tempest of resentment? The night was far from over, and with their fates interwoven, only time could tell if they'd emerge whole or broken. The soft glow of early morning light snuck through the blinds, illuminating the small kitchen where Sarah sat, face buried in her hands. The events of the gala replayed in her mind, each taunting detail like a ghost haunting her thoughts. Her heart was a tangled mess of emotions as she struggled to process everything, especially that single, explosive moment with her father. It wasn't just anger. It was desperation for connection, for a family that hadn't been there for her. "Sarah, are you okay?" her brother, Jamie, asked, his voice breaking her trance. He stood at the doorway, his small frame framed by the morning light, holding a piece of toast. His innocent question hit her like a wave. She plastered on a smile, though it felt brittle, and gestured for him to join her at the table. "Yeah, just thinking about last night." He settled beside her, munching on his toast. "You were amazing. You stood up to those rich people." His eyes sparkled with admiration, and for a moment, she felt a flicker of pride. "I just did what I thought was right," she said quietly, though doubt gnawed at her. Did she really make a difference? Or had she simply embarrassed herself and her father? "Do you think Dad will talk to you again?" Jamie asked, his curiosity genuine. They both knew the odds were slim. "Maybe." He seemed shocked. "Maybe it's a start." But as she said the words, uncertainty wrapped around her heart. What did that even mean for them? And for her, just then, the phone rang, slicing through the tension. Sarah's pulse quickened as she reached for it, the thought of her father making her stomach churn. She stared at the screen. It was him. Taking a deep breath, she answered. "Hello? Sarah." David's voice was steady, but she could hear the weight behind it. "Can we meet? I think we need to talk." "About what?" she asked, trying to keep her voice calm, though it felt like the ground was shifting beneath her. "About everything. I want to understand why you're so upset. I need to explain too." Her heart raced. Was this the apology she had been waiting for, or merely a ploy to maintain his status? "Okay. When?" "Today. Let us say 2 o'clock at the cafe on Maple?" "Fine." She heard herself agreeing, though she didn't know if she was ready to open old wounds or hear excuses. As she hung up, dread sank in her gut. What if that meeting turned into another disaster? What if he walked away again? Determination surged within her. She had confronted the facade of wealth at the gala. Now she had to do the same with her father. If he wanted to clear the air, she was willing to listen, but she wouldn't back down. Later, as she prepared for her meeting, Sarah chose her words carefully. It was about accountability, responsibility, and healing. She wouldn't just let him dictate the narrative. This was about her, about the child he left behind. 2 o'clock came too quickly, the cafe bustling with people and noise. As she walked in, her heart pounded in her chest. David was already at a corner table, his suit impeccable, but his expression was taut, hinting at the same stress that churned inside her. "Hi," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for coming," he replied, looking genuinely relieved. What did he expect? She had a million questions swirling inside. Taking a deep breath, she sat across from him, ready to confront the man who had so casually turned his back on her. "We need to talk about why we're here." As the words left her lips, she felt a sense of purpose. But would it be enough to unearth the truth they both desperately needed? The moment was fragile, and while it promised possibilities, it also loomed heavy with uncertainty as her father opened his mouth to speak. Sarah braced herself for what might be a revelation, a confrontation, or maybe even a turning point. But what he said next could change everything. "Sarah," he began, voice steady yet somehow softer than she had anticipated. "I realize I've been absent and that I've caused you pain. We might not have been close, but I never wanted to hurt you. I was just trying to protect you in my own way." She blinked, flabbergasted. His words were laced with sincerity, but they felt like a lifeline thrown not just to her, but to a version of him she wasn't sure existed. "Protect me?" she echoed, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "You think leaving me was protecting me?" David looked down, the shadow of guilt crossing his face. "I thought if I distanced myself, if you lived apart from this world, maybe you'd find happiness away from all of this." All of what? She could feel the heat rising in her chest, anger bubbling to the surface. The money? The opportunities? Or was it just the shame of being around your failure as a father? He ran a hand through his hair, frustration etched on his face. "It's not that simple, Sarah. I wasn't ready to be a father. I thought if I provided for you, if you had everything you could want, it would be enough." "Enough?" The word tasted bitter. "You think money is enough for a daughter? You think that's what I wanted? You weren't there. You weren't there for my dance recitals, my graduations, or the nights I cried from loneliness. All that money you swept in to provide? It means nothing without love." The air between them crackled with tension. She could see him struggling to form a reply, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through his carefully constructed facade. "Perhaps I've been selfish," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Trying to be a business mogul made me forget what matters the most. Do you even know who I am? The girl you left behind?" Sarah said, her voice stern but fragile. "I'm not your puppet. I'm not part of your empire. He nodded slowly, eyes glistening with something she hadn't seen before. Was it regret? Recognition? And now? He asked, sounding almost desperate. What can I do to make it right? Her heart raced at his words. For a moment, it felt like a doorway had opened. Just how far could they venture down this path together? You can start by being honest, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt inside. What am I really to you? Just a name, an obligation, or do I mean something? His gaze tightened, and silence enveloped them. It felt heavy, like the weight of years trapped behind walls they both had built. But as she looked at him, she sensed a new energy in the air. This wasn't just an exchange of words. It was an exchange of hope, of potential. I promise to come clean, he said finally, voice faltering. But you need to promise to hear me out. No more walls between us, Sarah. I will share everything. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of expectations, fears, and desires weighing heavy on her shoulders. Okay, she replied. Then let us begin. No more hiding. As he began to share truths about his life, the secrets he had buried under layers of wealth and pretense, Sarah felt a mingling of anxiety and curiosity. How much more could he reveal? What would that mean for their relationship moving forward? The clock ticked ominously, and with each moment that passed, she felt the stakes rising. Could this meeting unfold into something beautiful, or would it only lead to deeper scars? What truth was lurking just beneath the surface, ready to break free? As David took a moment to gather his thoughts, Sarah could see the conflict etched across his face. He looked older, more worn down than she remembered. The boyish charm that once characterized him now blended with deep lines of worry and regret. I wanted to give you everything I didn't have growing up, he started, hesitation weaving through his words. But in my pursuit of that, he swallowed hard. I lost sight of what really mattered. I was a scared kid myself, trying to forge a path in a world that felt too big, too overwhelming. She watched him, her heartbeat unsteady. There was a rawness in his voice, a vulnerability that pulled at something deep within her. But that doesn't excuse the years you missed, she said, keeping her voice steady, even as her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. You took the easy way out. I know. His admission hung in the air, dense and heavy. Leaving was never about you. It was my struggle, my fear of failure. I thought if I stayed away, I would save you from my shortcomings. Her brows knit together. But all you did was make me feel unwanted, unworthy. David's eyes glistened with unshed tears, a stark contrast to the confident persona she had always known. I'm sorry, Sarah. I thought a nice car, a pretty house, and the right school would make you happy. I thought it could fill the void I created. A wave of sadness washed over her. For so long, she had yearned for his presence, scrolled through photos of their family, imagining how it could have been if he had been there at every milestone. All those imaginary conversations and dreams collided with the stark reality of the man before her. What about Mom? She asked, her voice softer, barely above a whisper. Did she know? Did you tell her any of this? He looked away, the flicker of shame returning. It was my burden to bear, and I thought that keeping her in the dark would protect her, too. But it ruined our marriage. I made a choice to shield both of you, and in doing so, I hurt us all. So you built walls around us both, she added, bitterness creeping into her tone. You thought isolation would be better than honesty? Wounds can either heal or fester, he replied, voice cracking under the weight of regret. But you're right. I should have faced them. I should have faced you. His honesty was a dagger, the sharpness of his truth cutting through the fog of resentment she harbored. Yet it also felt like a tentative bridge, something she could choose to reach for or tear down altogether. Your happiness does matter to me. I messed it up, David continued, voice trembling. What I want now is the chance to make it right. I want to be in your life, to know who you are and who you've become. Sarah paused, the enormity of his words swirling through her mind. Could she really let him back in? Could trust be rebuilt from the shards of heartbreak? She felt her walls starting to waver as the desire for connection danced dangerously close to the remnants of her pain. With a shaky breath, she replied, If you truly mean that, then let us try. But there's more I want to understand. More I need from you. David nodded, a flicker of hope sparking in his eyes. I'll take you through everything. There are parts of my life I've never shared, parts that might explain me, our situation. Okay, she replied cautiously. But I'm not ready for empty promises. I need to know you're committed to this. For real. As he began recounting his past, the air filled with truths long buried. Her heart swung between hope and skepticism. Would this truly heal them? Or was it merely the beginning of another labyrinth of disappointment? Just then, a notification from her phone buzzed on the table, bringing Sarah back to reality. A message preview flashed on the screen. We need to talk. It's urgent. Her stomach twisted. Who could it be? And what could be so urgent right now? She turned to David, torn between his revelation and the unknown urgency waiting for her attention. What more would she have to face today? And was this new wound going to overshadow the bridge they were trying to build? Sarah picked up her phone, the weight of David's words still hanging in the air. Her fingers trembled as she swiped to unlock the screen. The message was from a number she didn't recognize, but the urgency pricked at her curiosity. We need to talk. It's urgent. She glanced up at David, whose gaze was already fixed on her. The raw emotion that had filled their conversation moments before suddenly felt small against the uncertainty looming from her phone. Who is it? He asked, the curiosity mixed with a hint of concern. I don't know. Her voice was strained. She hesitated a moment before typing back a quick response. Urgent about what? A few moments passed. It felt like an eternity. The silence in the room was thick, filled with the unresolved tension between them. Maybe it's not important, David suggested, but Sarah could see the concern etched in his features. He shifted in his chair, the weight of his earlier revelation still simmering between them. And what if it is? She replied, trying to keep her frustration in check. I can't just ignore it. Her phone buzzed again. She opened the reply, her stomach twisting further. You have to see this. It's about your mother. The words struck her like a thunderclap. Memories of her mother swept through her mind, her laughter, her kindness, the small details that defined their relationship. But there had also been the darkness, the drinking, the late-night arguments. What does that mean? David asked, his expression shifting to something sharper, more protective. I don't know, she whispered, panic bubbling beneath the surface. We never talk about her, not really. It feels like there's so much I don't understand, so much I need to know. David's eyes were searching hers, a mix of empathy and dread. You can't trust it, he warned gently. Could be some cruel joke. You know how people are. But Sarah felt an urgency rising within her, a need to unearth the truth that seemed hidden beneath layers of silence and avoidance. The uncertainty was suffocating. Even if there's something about Mom, I don't know, I have to see it, she insisted. Before he could respond, she felt her phone vibrating yet again. Rolling her shoulders back, she held her breath as she opened the new message. This isn't going to wait. Meet me at the cafe on 5th Street at 2 p.m. They just had over an hour, and she felt torn. I need to go, she said finally, her voice steadier than she felt. I need to find out what this is about. David leaned in, the intensity of his gaze fixing on her. I'll go with you. You shouldn't face this alone. Part of her wanted to pull away, to navigate this unknown territory on her own. But another part of her, one that craved connection, felt comforted by his offer. No, I can't, she said softly. You have to continue telling me about your life. This can't be another delay to your story. I need both of us to be present for this. He sighed, the moment thick with unspoken words and raw emotions. Whatever you decide, just know I'm here. This doesn't change anything we just talked about. She nodded, but fear gnawed at her. What would she uncover? What hidden parts of her mother's life would this stranger expose? The last thing she wanted was to step into another realm of betrayal. But the call of truth was too strong to ignore. As she grabbed her bag, the weight of both meetings, the past with David and the urgent unknown, clashed in her heart. With one last glance at him, she stepped towards the door, feeling the cool air outside hit her face. As she walked to her car, she mustered the courage. But what if this led to secrets that shattered the fragile connection she was beginning to rebuild with David? Her mind raced with scenarios, each scarier than the last. Would their tentative bridge withstand the truth if it revealed more heartbreak than healing? Sarah knew one thing for sure. The next conversation could change everything. As she drove, the uncertainty loomed ahead like a dense fog, each turn leading her deeper into the unknown. What was waiting for her at that cafe? And would it drown out the hope she had just begun to feel? As Sarah pulled into the parking lot of the cafe, her pulse quickened. She focused on her reflection in the rearview mirror, trying to muster a sense of calm. Her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes danced with a mixture of fear and determination. She exited the car, the cool breeze brushing against her skin, a reminder of the unpredictability ahead. The cafe on 5th Street was charming, a little outdated, with outdoor seating flanked by flower boxes overflowing with bright blooms. There was something comforting about it. Yet, as she stepped inside, the warm smell of coffee and pastries couldn't mask the trepidation swirling in her stomach. She scanned the room, and her heart sank when she spotted a woman sitting at the far corner table, hunched over a laptop, glancing up as if she felt Sarah's eyes on her. The woman had a familiar air, a striking resemblance to her mother that made Sarah's breath hitch. There was no mistaking it. She could be her mother's sister or perhaps a friend from another time in her life. Sarah? The woman rose, a tentative smile creeping onto her face. Sarah nodded, though her voice felt caught in her throat. "Hi," she said, her tone softer than she intended. "I'm Eleanor," the woman said, reaching out for Sarah's hand. "I know this must be an overwhelming moment for you. Thank you for coming. Why did you contact me?" Sarah asked, urgency dripping from her voice. She needed answers, and she needed them now. The fire inside her felt restless, as if demanding to break free. Eleanor glanced around, ensuring they were alone before sliding into the seat across from Sarah. "There are things about your mother that you don't know. Things that could change how you see her, how you see yourself." The words hung heavy in the air, igniting a storm inside Sarah. "I don't understand." "What do you mean?" Eleanor's gaze softened, revealing a layer of sadness. "Your mother wasn't just a woman who struggled with her demons. She was a fighter, Sarah. And before her struggles, she had dreams. Dreams that never saw the light of day because of the choices she made." "Choices?" Sarah echoed, feeling a mix of anger and confusion bubbling up. "What kind of choices?" Without hesitation, Eleanor launched into a story that peeled back the layers of Sarah's childhood, revealing secrets concealed beneath years of silence. She spoke of a vibrant young woman whose laughter echoed through crowded rooms, whose ambitions were stifled by harder realities. Every word wrapped around Sarah like tendrils of a long-forgotten memory. "I loved your mother deeply," Eleanor continued, her voice tinged with regret. "But I was also there when she fell. I need you to understand that the woman you remember is only part of the story." The very foundation of Sarah's memories began to tremble. She recalled the slurred words, the harsh words echoed in those late-night fights. But now those pieces of her past clashed violently against this new narrative. "Why now?" Sarah wondered aloud, her breath shaky. "Why do you want me to know this?" Eleanor looked straight into Sarah's eyes, the sincerity clear. "Because you deserve to know the truth. You need to understand that your mother loved you deeply. The struggles she faced, they don't define who she was or who you are." Tears pricked at the corners of Sarah's eyes. A flood of emotions crashed over her, a wave of realization that she was standing on the precipice of something monumental, an understanding that could either heal her or break her all over again. As she opened her mouth to respond, her phone buzzed violently on the table. A new message had arrived, the sound slicing through the tension like a knife. Glancing at the screen, Sarah's heart stopped as the name lit up. David. What could he possibly want at this moment? Her mind was racing, a flurry of questions battling for priority. Should she respond now? Did she dare to share these revelations with him too? Her pulse quickened. Facing her past was one thing, but dealing with the future felt like a whole other nightmare. And so, with the message sitting there, unanswered and filled with the promise of more questions, Sarah felt the weight of her choices closing in. What could David possibly want to say? And how might it intertwine with the secrets now spilling across the table? The moment was fragile, as if the world spun on the edge of truth, and Sarah knew that whatever she chose next could change everything all over again. The cafe around her faded, the hum of conversations blurring into white noise as Sarah's focus zeroed in on the message from David. Her heart raced as she considered tapping the screen, yet the very thought paralyzed her. This wasn't just a simple text. It was a gate to emotions she had stuffed deep down, wrapped in layers of denial. Eleanor watched her, an empathetic understanding etched on her face. "You should talk to him," she urged gently, almost as if sensing Sarah's internal battle. "But I don't know what to say about any of this," Sarah managed, her voice a whisper, barely audible over her own thoughts. "Start with honesty," Eleanor advised. "The truth has a way of illuminating the dark corners of our lives. It might even set you free." Taking a deep breath, Sarah finally unlocked her phone, her fingers trembling as she opened David's message. "We need to talk. Can we meet?" It felt like a lifeline thrown in turbulent waters. But how could she face him? She was teetering on the edge of what could be an earth-shattering revelation about her mother and herself. For so long, Sarah had lived beneath the weight of her family's expectations. Could she bring David into this mess? "David deserves the truth," Eleanor stated firmly. "He's part of your life whether you want him there or not. You have to choose now who you want to be moving forward. Do you want to continue hiding behind a facade?" A part of Sarah knew she couldn't hide any longer. The old wounds were beginning to stitch themselves anew, granting her a strange sense of resilience. But would that be enough to confront David? Their bond felt fragile. Uncertainty loomed over every interaction in recent weeks. "How can I even begin to explain all this?" Sarah asked, rubbing her temples as she fought back overwhelmed feelings. "Just tell him you're scared," Eleanor replied softly. "Scared of the truth, scared of what lies ahead. You're not alone in this. Sharing your fears can strengthen the connection you have." Sarah held Eleanor's gaze, feeling the warmth of her encouragement seep into her bones. A moment passed in quiet contemplation before she replied to David, her fingers moving steadily across the keyboard. "Okay, can we meet where we first met?" Her heart thumped heavily with each word she typed. Even sending the message felt like stepping off a cliff, free-falling into uncertainty. There was no turning back now. "Good," Eleanor said, the smile on her face genuine. "You're taking charge of your own narrative, Sarah." As they exchanged nods, a sense of solidarity filled the air. Yet just as relief washed over her, David's name popped back up on her screen, a new message flashing. "On my way." The weight of anticipation settled in her chest once more. She looked up to Eleanor, who offered a reassuring smile. "What if he doesn't understand?" Sarah fretted, anxiety bubbling inches away from the surface. "Then you both will find your way through it together. Just embrace this moment," Eleanor urged, her expression a mix of compassion and determination. Sarah sighed deeply, wrestling with the blend of fear and hope swelling inside her. Each breath felt like a step toward unknown territory. And as she glanced back up, she locked eyes with Eleanor, feeling a flicker of peace. Yet, before she could thank Eleanor for being there, her phone buzzed again, a new notification. "David's here," it read. The world outside the cafe seemed shrouded in a fog of tension as Sarah braced herself for the conversation that lay ahead. The warmth of the cafe faded, replaced by an unsettling coldness. Her heart raced as she stood up, ready to take this leap into confrontation. The stakes were high, and she was about to face not just David, but an entirely new chapter of her life. What would happen when the truth began to unravel before them? Would David stand by her side, or would this revelation tear them apart? The unknown loomed, and Sarah could only hope for the best as she stepped outside. The breeze kissed Sarah's face as she stepped outside, a soothing contrast to the storm raging within. She spotted David leaning against his car, hands in his pockets, a slight frown etched across his forehead. He seemed more confident, more put together than she felt. Every step toward him felt like walking through molasses. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, drowning out the distant sounds of traffic. This was the defining moment, the line between the life she was escaping and the truth she desperately needed to embrace. "Hey," she managed to say, voice wavering, desperately hoping confidence would appear like magic. "Hey," David replied, his expression softening just a little, yet uncertainty twinkled in his eyes. "Thanks for agreeing to meet." They stood in an awkward silence, the space between them charged with unspoken words. "Can we go for a walk?" he suggested gently, nodding toward the nearby park. "Sure," she breathed, relieved to move. The act of walking would take her mind off the weight of her confession. As they wandered under the shade of old trees, memories washed over her, laughter shared, dreams discussed, the foundation of something beautiful. But it all felt tainted now, the secret of her family pressing down on her like a heavy shroud. "I've been thinking a lot about us," David began. "Me too," Sarah blurted, cutting him off. She would plunge into clarity now, no holding back. "But it's complicated, David. There's a lot I haven't shared." He stopped, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean? Is this about your mom? I know things haven't been easy for you." His concern clutched at her heart, making it ache. But tears were close, and she fought to keep them at bay. Could confiding in him make things better or worse? "It's bigger than that. My family, it's all a lie. There's something you should know about my father." She glanced away, panic clawing at her throat. "What do you mean?" David asked, his voice a mix of confusion and concern. Sarah hesitated, but the truth screamed inside her. "He's not the person you think he is. He's been hiding things from us. From everyone. And I've been scared to confront it. Scared to let you in on the chaos." David stepped closer, his gaze intense, willing her to keep going. "Tell me everything. You don't have to go through this alone." The invitation washed over her like a life buoy, pulling her out of the depths of fear. Taking a deep breath, Sarah forced her trembling lips to move. "I don't know how this will change things between us, but it's time I stopped pretending." As she began to unveil the layers of truth surrounding her family and the dynamics with her father, she felt the weight lift off her shoulders, piece by piece. Each revelation was a step into uncharted territory. The fear of judgment, of rejection was still present, but somehow, sharing felt like the path to liberation. David listened, his expression shifting from shock to understanding. As Sarah recounted her tale, she couldn't help but notice the way his lips pressed into a thoughtful line, and the way his eyes softened with empathy. "Gosh, Sarah," he finally murmured, taking a moment to think. "I wish you had told me sooner. I can't believe you've been dealing with all of that on your own." A wave of relief washed over her, but the looming reality of potential fallout settled in her stomach. What if this wasn't enough? What if he turned away, unable to accept the woman she was becoming? "David, I know this is a lot. I'm not asking you to fix it, just to be part of it. Can you do that?" His gaze held hers, and she could see wheels turning behind his eyes. "I want to be here for you, Sarah. Care about you. But we have to face your father together. This is bigger than just us." His words hung in the air, a lifeline but also a daunting task to consider. For the first time, she felt the weight of the world begin to shift. They could face whatever came next together. But deep down, understanding David's willingness to fight alongside her ignited a fresh wave of fear intertwined with an unmistakable flicker of hope. "Are you ready for what that means?" she asked, holding her breath as everything hung in the balance. "Yes," he replied, his voice steady but filled with a gravity that hinted at the storm still brewing. "And I'll be right here with you." But as she met his sincere gaze, doubts began to creep back in. Was she ready for the battle ahead? Not just with her father, but with the shadows of her past? A distant siren wailed, echoing the uncertainty of their future. What did this mean for Sarah's relationship with her family and David? The next steps loomed vast and uncertain, stretching before her like a long, winding road. As they proceeded forward, hand in hand, the hesitance remained. But now there was more to fight for. They were both ready for the confrontation, but who would truly emerge unscathed on the other side? The park buzzed with life, child laughter ringing out, and the rustle of leaves underfoot. But for Sarah and David, it felt like they existed in a bubble, surrounded by a storm of emotions. Sarah's heart pounded in rhythm with the footsteps they took, each step heavier with the weight of what lay ahead as they finished their initial stroll. Sarah paused, staring at a particularly large oak tree sprawling above them. Its branches spread wide, a resilient shield against the sun. She thought about the strength that tree must possess, able to withstand strong winds and storms. "I wish I had that kind of strength," she muttered, half to herself. David turned to her, a knowing look in his eyes. "You do, Sarah. You're tougher than you realize." His confidence sparked something deep within her. "But what if I'm not? What if facing my dad only makes things worse? What he does, it could tear everything apart." "Then we'll rebuild," he replied, his voice warm, wrapping around her like a cozy blanket on a cold day. "We'll face whatever comes next together. You're not alone in this." Hearing his promise, she felt both comforted and terrified. She could picture her father's reaction, the anger, the denial, the cold distance that could stretch farther than the ocean. He had perfected the art of hiding behind a veil of charm, but beneath it lay layers of manipulation and control that she struggled to escape. "What if he pushes back? What if he threatens you?" she asked, trying to suppress a tear that threatened to spill over. David's grip tightened around her hand. "If he does, I'll be there to stand in front of you. You deserve to be heard." His unwavering support ignited a flicker of courage within her. "Okay, I'll try, but I don't think I can manage it all without losing myself." David nodded, his expression serious. "We can take it one step at a time. One conversation, one confrontation. No need to rush." They resumed walking, each minute spent together reinforcing their bond. But as a heavy cloud rolled through the sky, casting a shadow across their path, Sarah swallowed hard, contemplating the storm that would hit soon, even stormier than the one in her heart. "Let us meet tomorrow at the gala. We can practice what to say," David suggested, breaking the tension that had begun to settle in. The gala was just days away, and it would offer a crowded space where they could confront her father under watchful eyes, giving her a smidge of power. After a moment's contemplation, she let out a shaky breath. "Okay. But if I lose it, if I start to crumble, will you promise to step in?" "Promise," he said, placing his other hand on top of hers, warmth radiating from his touch. "And if I get a bit violent, I'll promise to not let you see that side of me." She chuckled, the weight in her chest lightening a fraction. "Deal." As they made their way back toward the parking lot, Sarah glanced up, feeling the first drops of rain begin to fall, their timing a haunting reminder of the turmoil ahead. The shadows of doubt crept back, but her heart felt a little stronger. David started, but she raised a hand to pause him as she spotted a figure in the distance near his car. A familiar face that brought with it a rush of tension. "Wait, who is that?" she asked, panic rising as a recognizable figure approached. A tall man with a brash demeanor and an air of arrogance that made her stomach churn. "Her father's business partner." David turned, eyes narrowing. "Is that?" The figure waved, a smug smile plastered on his face. "What was he doing here, Sarah?" he called out, grinning as though this encounter was a happy coincidence. Her heart raced. The man's visit sent a pulse of dread spiraling through her, the looming storm now taking form. "I have a really bad feeling about this." David stepped protectively in front of her, a silent promise of backup. "Stay close," he whispered, his protective instincts kicking in, but Sarah's mind was already racing. Why was he here? She could sense ill intentions behind that grin. As they approached, the man's eyes lit up with mischief, as if he had the upper hand, the power to unravel her carefully planned confrontation. What was about to unfold? Standing at the precipice, Sarah felt that the next moment would change everything. Would she still have the courage to face her father after this? Or had their chance for clarity slipped away? "Sarah, we need to talk," he began, his voice dripping with condescension, and her heart plummeted. The storm was here. Would she weather the tempest or be swept away? As the tension hung in the air, Sarah felt an icy shiver run down her spine. There he stood, her father's business partner, a man who embodied the power her father wielded and the very world she despised. The casual invasion of her space felt like an affront, a reminder of everything she had been fighting against. "What do you want?" Sarah managed, her voice trying to sound steady, but the tremble betrayed her. She could feel David's presence just behind her, a grounding force in the swirling storm. "Isn't it obvious?" he said with that infuriating smirk. "Your father would like to have a word with you. Before the gala. I hear he has been looking to clear the air." "Clear the air?" Sarah spat, anger rising like a tidal wave. "He is the one who created this mess in the first place." The man sneered. "You really think you have the upper hand here? Your little outburst at the gala went viral. People love a dramatic backstory, darling. But don't kid yourself, your father is the one with all the cards." David took a step forward, a low growl of protectiveness emanating from him. "You're crossing a line," he said, his voice dark and steady. "She doesn't owe you or your boss anything." For a flickering moment, Sarah felt buoyed by David's courage. But the sinking realization washed over her. She had to confront her father, face the chaos head-on, before he slipped away behind another wall of confusion and power. "What does he want from me?" she demanded, clenching her fists. "To speak. To clear things up. This family drama has the public buzzing, and your father has always been one to prefer his assets in fine order. You flying off the handle didn't help anyone." A surge of energy flicked inside Sarah, igniting a fire she thought was dwindling. "Is that what I am to him? An asset?" "Sarah." David's voice was firm, cutting through the madness. "Don't let him get under your skin." But the anger was a raw edge, a moment of clarity surfacing. "My father has never treated me as anything other than a pawn. If he wants to talk, let him show up and face me himself." The man chuckled, an ugly sound that bounced off the pavement. "Oh, believe me, he will. You're still very much on his radar. You will discuss this whether you like it or not. Then let him come." "I'm not hiding anymore," she declared, words spilling out with a newfound confidence. The brash demeanor wavered, and for a moment, she thought she saw a hint of respect in his gaze. "Let us hope you can handle the truth when it crashes down. You might not like what you uncover about yourself." With that, he turned, allowing his absence to fill the space with a sense of finality. Sarah felt the anger flickering within her, but behind that fire, there lay a dawning realization she was the one wielding her own narrative now. "Are you really ready for this? For him to show up and bring all that chaos back?" David's voice was soft but stern, his concern palpable. Sarah met his gaze and she could feel something shift within. I can't keep pretending I'm not part of this family. I want the answers I've been avoiding. It's time to stand up. For myself." David nodded, stepping beside her, strength radiating from his presence. "We'll figure this out. Together. Feels like a storm right now," she admitted, her heart pounding. "But I've faced storms before." "Exactly," he said, eyes steady. "And we'll navigate through it. I'll be your anchor." As they began to walk back to the parking lot, hand in hand, the clouds began to part, revealing glimpses of sunlight against the darkened sky. "Tomorrow isn't just about you and him. It's about us," David said, a tone of determination surrounding his words. "We face him together. This isn't just your fight. It's ours." In that moment, Sarah's heart soared. The battle ahead still loomed, but with each step, she felt the chains of doubt break apart just a little more. She could push through the thunder and lightning if she faced them head-on, equipped with honesty, strength, and the promise of collective healing. The next day would mark the beginning of something new. As she breathed, in the fresh, fragrant air, hope unfurled its wings within her. The truth was screaming to be heard, and she was finally ready to listen. But before that dawn broke, she could feel the weight of yesterday creeping back. The connection with David, the upcoming confrontation with her father. She had allies now, people willing to help her weather this storm. She had come too far to turn back. It felt like a turning point. This was her life to reclaim, and there was no going back to a silence that had drowned her out for far too long. As they reached the car, adrenaline coursed through her veins. This was the moment she had been waiting for. She would rise against the storm. And as she climbed into the car, she felt emboldened, ready to embrace whatever trials lay ahead as they drove toward the horizon. Now it was time to move forward. With all the love and support she felt looping around her heart, she couldn't wait to face the truth. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss explosive stories like this one. Leave a like now to fuel our algorithm and help us spread important tales. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. You need to share your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Only true fans understand how crucial your support is. Let us make waves together.